We're going to talk Liverpool, Man City soon, but you're both on. I've got to ask you about Manchester City. Obviously, you had that demolition against the mighty Tottenham Hotspur on the
Honestly,
weekend.
he's been waiting for that
4-0.
Wow.
Which you are used to that, though, aren't you, Man City losing to Tottenham, because it does happen most years. But the one thing, this isn't even winding you up here at all, but I look at the Man City team and it's still littered with incredible talent. It's now 6 games without a win. What do you put that down to?
Yeah, Buvey.
I just can't believe...
Yeah, it's a difficult situation. Look, you miss Rodri, and everyone's going to moan at me for saying about Rodri. That takes a massive chunk out of the confidence and the form. He's the best player in the world, best midfielder in the world. But there are you look at the numbers of distance covered, they are running a little bit less. And if you win 4 leagues in a row, you win a treble in that 4 as well. The appetite to run as much as possible. A lot of players in their 30s, De Bruyne's getting injured a lot as well. So I can't sit here as a City fan and blame the lads because they've won 4 leagues in a row. It's unbelievable. But you do expect a little bit better than what we've seen. I mean, the Spurs result was embarrassing. Feyenoord was probably even worse based on, their level. I mean, Spurs are a Premier League side, do you know what I mean?
Do you think it was worse because of the manner in which you shipped 3 goals?
Well, we were never 3-0 up against Spurs, do you know what I mean? 3-0 up at home against Feyenoord. It's never been seen in the Champions League up to 75th minute to concede 3 goals and not win a game. So, it is a little bit concerning. Obviously got the best side in Europe on the weekend.
I have seen as well, you are very vocal on social media. Usually it's just been positivity galore because Man City win everything. We're so used to seeing you win everything. But you're already congratulating Liverpool for winning the league. You're calling for formation changes. Are you chucking the towel in already?
No, I want a back 5 against Liverpool. I want us to be Tony Pulis. Honestly, and people say, Pep never plays a back 5. It's more of a 3. I think, honestly, we need to get as many centre-backs in there as possible, make it very narrow. If Kyle Walker starts to play, you can play him as a right wing-back, play Doku as a left wing-back, get the centre-backs really narrow and try and hit them on the counter-attack. The only way... They lost the game against Nottingham Forest, and Nottingham Forest was superb. Hit them on the counter-attack. That's the only way City are going to beat Liverpool, is trying to hit them on the counter-attack. Give them the ball and play into a level of naivety that they could have at Anfield.
It's a different movie, isn't it? It's a different movie.
I mean, it's really... Loz, you're kind of on the opposite side of the fence. What do you think about Man City from like a Liverpool fan's perspective of this slump?
From my perspective, it's probably similar to where Liverpool worried they might be at this season in terms of hanging on to a couple of players too long. I think there are a couple of guys in that team who probably needed to call it a day. And I don't even mean in terms of their level. I just mean I think they've done their time now at City, and City needed to move on, and they needed to as well. I don't think City have quite had the transfer policy to suit what Pep wants to build now. And now it's his job to transition them. So I actually think they're just a little bit behind and they're lagging. We'll see what happens in January. We'll see what happens in the summer. If they have a good January, then I think that kicks them on. Even if they were to bring in one more player, like a Zubimendi type, I think that completely changes the way that the team moves the ball, and suddenly you're in a whole different space.
Do you think they will, though? I mean, January, no choice, is a difficult window, mid-season and all that.
City don't spend much money either, is it? Yeah.
Well, honestly,
do you think City will go big in January?
In relative standards, I know there's a lot of money swashing about in football, I get it, but City haven't spent that much money in recent years. I get what you're saying in terms of the takeover and stuff like that, but ultimately, City, there's a lot of money there. There is a lot, with PSR and stuff like that, City are very, very profitable. I think City do need to spend 200 million quid. I know I'm going to get flagged off for saying that.
Is that your thing? Spending your way out of it?
Let's be real. United have spent over £1 billion and achieved complete mediocrity, 9 positions below Manchester City. Why do Man United... No, but I'm just as an example, because you spent so much money to achieve very, very little, 1 League Cup or whatever in the last few years. I get that. Arsenal spent a similar amount of money to achieve 1 FA Cup in 5 years. City probably do, on some level, deserve to spend a little bit more than someone like Mateus Nunes and Doku, maybe a little bit more than that in the next couple of years.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go on.
By the end of January, do you think that Manchester United will be closer to City than City will be closer to Liverpool?
Oh, for sure, City will be closer to Liverpool.
They've got to try and get above Brentford first. Let them think about Brentford.
Good point. Try that.
They're below Brighton. They're below some crazy size loss. They're 12th.
Hey, Brighton, good team.
Brighton, a very good side.
I love how he's fifth into Man United.
Can I just say, there is only one team that is above Brighton in the Premier League right now, so that's a pretty good achievement.
Exactly, they're second in the league. We've got to talk about Liverpool. Loz is sat going, why are we talking about Man City? Because you were at Anfield midweek, beating Real Madrid, you're top of the Champions League, you're top of the Premier League. What a start for Arne Slot.
Yeah, I really actually think that Liverpool fans need to give a bit more credit to what happened last season as well, and how the rebuild of the midfield last summer set up so much of the success that Liverpool have had more recently. A lot of people seem to be overlooking the quality of the squad that Jurgen Klopp and whoever else behind the scenes had put together. And I think they were primed to have another manager come in. I think the players they weren't tired of the old methods, but the old methods have been used quite a lot by Klopp at that point. And you'd imagine that he was beginning to wane a little bit. You could see it. So now when Arne Slot comes in, freshens things up, moves a couple of players around, reprofiles a few guys, it makes such a difference. And honestly, against Real Madrid, there was a real swagger by the time we finished the game. And you'll know this from being around the players, interviewing the players. You can just see a difference in the way they move, the way they carry themselves, even just the way that they interact with the opposition. They were not afraid of Real Madrid the other night. They arguably won't be afraid of Man City on the weekend. But I think there is a little bit more apprehension around City just because... the injured animal, that kind of thing.
Yeah, do you know what? It's a fair point. I remember interviewing Curtis Jones about a month back, and he just had this aura that he's just loving. I know he's a new dad and everything like that, but just loving life. And he's a player that has just been revolutionised this season. There's a lot of players like that. But if you, as a City fan, be honest, a lot of people were very vocal about Liverpool, the fact that they had a new manager. They didn't spend fortunes in the summer. And I saw some pundits and players and people on social media not even putting them in the conversation for top 4 or title race. Did you see this from Liverpool?
I'm being
at the start of the
honest.
season, be honest.
I did. Not in terms of being this far clear, but in terms of how... Remember last season there was a 3-horse race, Arsenal, City and Liverpool. I thought it was going to be very similar this season. Not saying, obviously, I predicted how good you'd be.
Yeah.
But this Liverpool side have got 4 or 5 world-class players. Van Dijk's probably the best centre-back in world football, the best keeper, in my opinion, in Alisson. Salah's still there. So, of course, I could see it at least being a side that are at least third in the table, and obviously you're far better than that. And it's crazy. I think the Real Madrid performance was out of this world good. It was crazy how confident you are. For me, it's probably the best new manager coming into a big club that I've seen since Mourinho at Chelsea in his first season, and he won the league in his first season.
We've had a nice run of games as well. I think we've been able to ease ourselves into the season and slowly build up in terms of difficulty of opposition. And when you get that and you don't just get thrown in at the deep end against a City or someone like that, you can build up and build momentum and confidence. If you'd have thrown Konate in at the beginning of the season against City when they looked a little bit stronger and were a bit more confident, who knows where the narrative goes and where confidence goes in the team.
Interesting to chat about some players now then, because we're going to do a combined 11 based on this season.
Right.
So we're not looking at history here, we're not looking at what KDB's won in the past, we're looking at players on form, really. So should we start in goal?
Yeah.
Sure. Man City and Liverpool.
Do we disagree on this? Technically, we do.
I think you've got a disagreement. You have. So you've both gone with... So there's no Edison, there's no Man City name here. You've both gone with the Liverpool keeper.
Yeah.
But a different one.
But a different one.
Obviously, I'd be very happy to put him there. I'd also be very happy to put Kevin Kelleher there as well. They've both been quality for Liverpool this season. Obviously protected by 2, as you said, quality world-class centre-backs this season in an adjusted system. Alisson, I think... I mean, he still has the legacy, but if we're just doing this season, you might put Kevin in there.
We are doing it on this season.
It's closer. They've both played 6 Premier League games.
Exactly.
Alisson's got more clean sheets in the Premier League, but I feel like Kelleher's impact almost like... is so
Big
shocking
games as well.
and it's like
penalty saves as well. And
it is the ability as a number 2 to just be at the number 1's level is like
I also
unheard
think
of.
That's also testament to people like Alisson.
Yeah.
I think he's imparted a lot of wisdom, been a real mentor for Kelleher, and you can see those two, their relationship is really good. It's very rare that you see that in the Premier League, that there are such quality and how they kind of pass between the two of them.
They could have dropped off easily. There could have been a couple of draws, couple of losses, couple of mistakes. I remember when Peter Cech got injured, I think it was Hilario came in for a few games and they were a completely different side, Chelsea. You wouldn't have blamed Kelleher for making not a couple of mistakes, but at least dropping off the form. But the amount of clean sheets, relatively speaking, relative to where they are in their careers, this has been the best out of Alisson.
Can I just say,
go on.
Well, the only reason I would edge Alisson is I still think he suits the system ever so slightly better than Kelleher in terms of passing around the back and coming out. He's just slightly more confident, and that's not really a criticism of Kelleher. He's a younger goalkeeper. He's growing into that role, but I think Alisson just looks a little bit more accomplished, shall we say, when it comes to doing what Arne Slot wants him to do and come out.
Do you know what's crazy? I think there's only 6 goalkeepers in the league that have got above a 70% save rate, and both of these guys are in there.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd say about Kelleher as well, the position that we're talking about, goalkeeper, it tends to be a big golfing class between a number 1 and a number 2 for most Premier League clubs. If your number 1 keeper gets injured, there is a huge drop-off generally. I think he starts for most Premier League clubs.
It's funny, because at the end of last
that
season
good
as
of a
well,
number two.
we had a very similar sort of thing at ManCity, didn't we? When Ortega came in, it was like, how good is he?
Yeah,
Best
there's
backup.
very
I feel
few
like
that
Kelleher is now the best number 2 in the world.
Well,
He'd start for Chelsea, he'd start for Spurs, wouldn't he? Like, he'd start Chelsea third or fourth in the table.
Yeah.
He'd be Chelsea's best keeper.
But that's the worry for us.
Do you go Kelleher here then?
I'm happy to put either up. I think they're both quality.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'll put Kelleher up just to credit him, really.
Nice,
but
let's mix it up.
I think the main thing with him is when he leaves Liverpool, which I think feels inevitable at some point, we don't want to see him go to another Premier League side.
Funny, isn't it? Because Mohamed Ashford is, of course, coming in, and that's a big move in the summer, highly publicised. It feels very harsh to just say, OK, he's going to come in instantly over Kelleher.
It's that stats thing at Liverpool. It's the deep stats, and that's why they went for Mamardashvili. And ultimately, buying a quality goalkeeper like him, if you bring him into your team, great. If not, you sell him for a profit. Fantastic.
OK, let's go on to right back. Now, you've both gone with one man, which we thought would be Trent Alexander-Arnold. Lots of, I'd say, rumours more so than reports that the Real Madrid links are hotting up this week. As a Liverpool fan, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think Trent will be a Liverpool player next season?
It depends on who you talk to, isn't it? It depends on which way they want the rumour to go. At the moment, I would say I think it's more than likely that he would be a Premier League player next season, and he will be at Liverpool, obviously. But I also think a lot of people in the Liverpool fan base have convinced themselves that if he was to go, it wouldn't be the be-all and end-all that we maybe, you remember Gerrard a few years ago, the saga of going to Chelsea, those kind of things. I think that's how we originally thought it would have felt, and that's what the initial reaction was. Obviously, he's a Scouser, that really helps him in the team. But there is this profile change at right back for Liverpool right now. And with that profile change and maybe us understanding we need something a bit different from right back, there's more of an acceptance of, would it be all that terrible if he was leaving?
Especially with Conor Bradley.
Saw Conor Bradley the other night as well. Yeah. The Mbappe tackle was vicious.
Beautiful. Beautiful moment in the game. Obviously, Kyle Walker spent minutes there this season, not in the 11. Are you surprised at Kyle Walker's performances so far this campaign?
I'm not actually, because I think he is at the age where you do lose a yard of pace. I thought he was great for England in the Euros, I really did. But then there was a moment where Werner ran past him.
Very unlike
game.
him,
It was like, and obviously he was linked to Bayern Munich. He was linked to Sheffield United about 18 months ago. So you feel maybe he's been kept at the club a little bit too long. You look at the kind of squad planning for Liverpool. They've got a backup keeper that is potentially a world-class keeper in waiting. They've got Conor Bradley that could easily replace Trent. You look at City and you think, is Rico Lewis even going to be the right option long-term as a right-back? Is he a midfielder? Kyle Walker? Yeah, it's a tricky one, but Liverpool got two great right-backs. He's been amazing as well. He's got this thing where you don't expect the pass to come, and then he just does this immense thing, and you're just like, wow, that really was line.
Get him on.
Stick him on. Most tackles, passes into the box and through balls for
When
Liverpool.
When are we going to see a City player here? When are we going to see our first City player?
Just be patient.
Let's do the two centre-backs together, as we always do.
Let's do the pair.
All right, okay.
I've got to say as well, we did think this would be dominant towards Liverpool, obviously, because they're top of the league, but usually that doesn't matter with Buvey. He sticks by his Man City.
You're a changed man.
Yeah, but we talk about when I've come on the show and talked about Arsenal. I don't rate a lot of these Arsenal players as much as but this Liverpool side have actually achieved. Like Van Dijk's a Champions League winner. Of course, I've got massive respect. I think Ruben Diaz is a better centre back than Konate on his day, but the day isn't at the moment, is it? I mean, for me, Ruben Diaz, you win 40 titles in a row, you are a little bit above Konate, but on form, this is the best defensive partnership in Europe.
It's arguable that actually Konate's been the better of the pair this season, or at least the more visible of the pair. He passes the eye test, and I think the jump that he's taken has really surprised Liverpool fans.
Do you agree with that? What Buvey said, best centre-back pairing in Europe currently?
I mean, statistically, I think we're definitely up there.
Yeah.
You saw the dominance against Madrid. When Endrick came on, he looked like a 10-year-old. And, I do think there's a level of confidence and swagger from these two where they just sort of go, oh, it's you, is it? All right, well...
That is a massive blow, no Konate on Sunday, isn't it?
Konate on Sunday is huge, and I think a lot of people are a little bit worried as to who comes in, whether it's Joe Gomez or whether it's Quansah.
Who would you have as a Liverpool fan?
I would have Quansah, and then I put Joe Gomez at right back this weekend, only because obviously Trent is so key to Liverpool, but I do worry about his fitness, and I don't want to have to make an early sub where things completely change.
Okay.
I would just say these two are so confident. Huge test this weekend. The movement from Haaland has been incredible this season. I think he's taken a step up again, so I think they're really going to be tested. Let's be real, Liverpool haven't faced all that many prolific strikers this season, and so they've been able to nullify a lot of people quite simply.
Okay,
Stick them up. And I think...
Could we have our first City player here?
We might have, Joe, our first City player.
Good-looking guy.
Yeah, no, I love Guardiola. Scores big goals.
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah. My issue with Guardiola, I know he made a mistake against Spurs. He's made a few mistakes this season. He's a very young kid. He's come in, won the Premier League. He was unplayable last season at points. Scored a huge goal against Real Madrid in the Champions League. He's still being asked to play out of position. People don't really. I think they're very critical of him, maybe because of the price tag. He's a centre back in waiting, and when he starts playing at centre back with his left foot, pinging it around, he'll be one of the best in European football. I still think he's better than Andy Robertson. Obviously, gave away the penalty. He's a little bit on the decline, with all due respect. Simicast as well. I think Guardiola would improve Liverpool.
There's been some question marks, though, hasn't there, recently about his defensively Guardiola? Because obviously so many tweets and statistics about his goal contributions and how many times he's bailed them out. And
lots of goals, though. One of our highest scorers.
He's got seven goals. Seven goals in his last 14 away appearances. 6 goals in his last 9 Premier
That's a problem for City, the fact he's so high on the scoring ranks.
That's unbelievable for where he's playing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It says a lot about his technical quality. He's a very, very technically gifted fullback or defender, and that's why he gave the ball away last week. I think he's very confident about trying to play it out from the back. He can get caught out.
I also think